Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Tina Rae, and today I'm going to present the first of 20 sessions, just mini webinars, very short sessions for teens and tweens. I want to really focus on mental health and well-being, so I'm hoping that these 20 sessions will give you lots of ideas and information so that you can begin to develop your own personal well-being toolbox or plan for well-being. And the sessions that follow this, I'm going to focus on tools and strategies from cognitive behavior therapy, affirmations, positive psychology, how to manage stress and anxiety, thinking about issues such as for example, how we actually manage when we are engaged in perfectionist behaviours, when we engage in negative thinking too much. So very practical, hopefully user-friendly resources for you. And they're short sessions just designed for you to pick and choose as you see fit. So hopefully this will be something for teens and tweens that will be really, really helpful going forwards. So what does cause mental health problems? In this introductory session, just want us to reflect on that and think about it. I think it's quite a tricky question because there are many, many different reasons, because we're so different as human beings. And some of the things that I might find stressful, you might not find so stressful. So if you think, for example, about taking an exam or a test, some people actually find that quite an okay experience. They thrive on it. They find it quite exciting. Other people like me get very, very nervous and very anxious and overwhelmed at times by it. So it's very different. Some people might enjoy the buzz and excitement of that. Other people won't do. So we're different, basically. I think what we can say is that many of us who experience some kind of mental health difficulties or problems, and most of us will at some point in our lives, we may have experienced situations and events in the past that have made it much harder for us to deal with life's ups and downs on a daily basis. If we think about some of those possible causes, these could be things like being lonely for a long period of time, so feeling very isolated. If you've been bullied at school or stigmatized because of your sexuality or the way that you look, or your race, your background, etc. You may have lost someone. You may be bereaved and anxious and feeling very, very lost within your sense of grief. Your self-esteem might have been damaged by hurtful comments from others as well, or you might have been sadly physically or emotionally abused and experienced what we would call real significant trauma. I think alongside these, there are other significant life changes that can impact on our mental health and well-being. So when we transfer, for example, from primary to secondary or high school, if our parents or carers separate, and that is acrimonious or difficult, it may be because we've experienced a great sense of poverty, and that's impacted on our well-being, or there have been some physical problems or ill health that we've had ongoing for some time. These can all impact on our mental health, our well-being. What's really, really vital is that when lots of these events seem to come together and we experience them simultaneously, at the same time, this can become quite overwhelming. So it's really important that we do one key thing, and that is to ask for help. Waiting till we feel really overwhelmed and the pressure's just too much is just not a good idea, because we can do a great deal to prevent things from getting worse. And that's what these 20 sessions are really aiming to do, is to give you the ideas, the tools and strategies you can use to protect your mental health and stop things getting out of hand. We know that looking after our physical health really does help us in this. If we get enough sleep and exercise, it's a good starting point, because then we can actually really come from a better place when we're trying to think about engaging in more positive thinking. So it's important to maybe stop and think, make a few notes here and think about what you really do yourself to look after your physical and mental health. What kind of strategies do you use? Do you use bits of mindfulness? Do you try and correct your negative thinking? Do you go running? Do you play football? Do you use creative outlets? Whatever you do, what do you think you need to do more or less of in order to maintain your mental health and well-being? I'm going to give you some really simple top tips now that I find have worked for lots of children and young people, and certainly have worked for me too. The first one is this: spending time with people who care for you and can make a real difference to how you feel. If people care for you, you know that you feel safe, you feel nurtured, you feel secure with them. So we need to make sure that we spend enough time with those people that generate those positive feelings. Two, doing creative things can really help you to focus away from your worries. You don't have to be the best artist, singer, pianist, musician, or whatever in the world. You just have to engage in these activities, something that is creative, that gets you that sense of flow so that you don't notice time passing, you're in the moment and you're really, really focused on something. And also it's a great thing when you can actually see something at the end of it and think, yeah, I did that, I produced that. Tip 3, doing things with other people in your community, doing good unto others, okay? Doing good things generates good feelings. And I think also it helps us to focus on someone else, taking care of others, doing those good, kind acts on a daily basis. Helps us not to just be focused on us and our problems. Tip 4, I sometimes find it can be really helpful just to sit down and list out some of the strengths and positive points that I have. And I think for all of us, this is a really useful strategy because it can help boost our self-esteem, our feelings that are, positive, really good about what we do, what we think, how we feel, and what our behavior is like. So just pinpointing some of those. It might be that you're a good friend, you're kind to others, that on a daily basis you do think about other people. It's a positive that you need to affirm. 5, I think it's really vital when we're so busy, and particularly at the moment when we're all having to go through going back into school during a pandemic, the COVID pandemic, it's really important that we all take time out to relax and give our minds some time to switch off every day. And that means just maybe having, a detox from social media, switching your phone off, just going out, being in nature, walking your dog, doing some mindfulness, some grounding, whatever works for you. Tip 6, a key strategy here. Sleeping well is a real essential for us if we want to keep our well-being, our mental health in good condition. So very important, as I said, to switch off from social media at bedtime and also have a good bedtime routine where you listen to relaxing music. You make sure you have a soothing, calm, quiet environment. And top tip 7, keeping active and taking daily exercise. We know this produces feel-good chemicals in the brain. So you don't have to all be the best runner in the world. No one has to be the best at anything. But find the thing that you like doing, whether that's dancing, Zumba, whether that's walking, running, whether that's playing football. But try and put some of that, factor some of that into your daily routine. Tip 8 is about eating well. And this, of course, again, it's common sense, isn't it? It supports both physical and mental well-being. Top tip 9, having mindful minutes every day can also improve our mental health. And I'm going to do a whole mini session on mindfulness for you, but look this up, Google, have a go at incorporating some mindfulness tools in your daily schedule. Ultimately, it's about you working out what works for you. So the reason that I'm presenting so many different topics in this series is I think that some things will work for some of us, some things won't work so well. You need to build your own toolbox. So think about what you do now, what works for you, and maybe what you could do more of, what you need to know a bit more about. And please have a look at some of my resources, particularly my recovery toolbox of wellbeing and the wellbeing journal. I think these are really, really helpful, really purposeful in terms of actually engaging in looking after your well-being on a daily basis and finding out what works for you and investigating that. It's really important. Don't close your minds to this, but have a go at really kind of thinking of what would work for you and what would make things even better. So thanks for listening, and I hope you join me in session 2 of this series. Goodbye.